Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite, and today we are going to create this big fluffy statement piece wreath. It's done on a wire frame that is 3 levels, and it has tinsel ties attached to it, so that gives it elevation. And we're using a lot more mesh along with a simple design using the woodland ruffle with all these beautiful glittery ribbons. So stay tuned and you'll see how we can do this together. Or if you'd like to do this on your own later, you'll know exactly what to do. Here we go. Okay, so first let's go over the supplies I'm using. I'm using a 12-inch metal sign. It's nice and thick. I got this from Craft Outlet. Our base is going to be a tinsel tie wreath frame. This is the 15-inch. You can get up to anywhere up to probably 28 inches in width on a wreath base this size. It is elevated, meaning the frame works its way up, so that helps to make it even fluffier. So that's going to be the base of our project. I'm going to put the sign away for now, but before I do that, this does come pre-drilled with holes, so that'll make it easier to attach to the frame. Let me put that out of the way. I've done 2 styles of ribbon bundles because we have an even number of tinsel ties in the frame. If you don't have an even number of tinsel ties in the frame, you should probably stick with 1 ribbon bundle style for everything. With the even numbers, that means we can do every other with every one of each of the 2 bundles without having 2 that are exactly the same end up being right next to each other. Okay, so the 1 ribbon bundle, let me open one up. They're already pre-cut, ready to go. This is a this one's a 5-inch ribbon. Sometimes you can use this 6-inch, but I went with the 5-inch because it matched perfectly for what I was trying to do. It's a glitter. Then I did a 2.5-inch, and this has some glitter to it. And then the confetti, that is all glitter, so it all ties in with the glitter, it all ties in with the colors, and all the colors tie in with the sign. Okay, then in the secondary bundles, we're starting out with glitter on the bottom, but a 2.5-inch version of the red glitter. And I made sure that the reds in both of the glittered ribbons match, because sometimes they don't. I like it to match. And then we have the same 2 on top, so it all matches. You could do different combinations on the second set of ribbon tails, but hey, this is what I decided I wanted to do today. So let me move all of these out of the way, since we're going to start with the mesh. And the mesh is a, hold on. The mesh is a 10-inch mesh. This is a fabric mesh. The blues and the reds match perfectly with the sign. It is already pre-cut. Everything for this project is pre-cut for the sake of time. These are cut in 30-inch lengths so I can get a really fluffy look on this particular project. Okay, I've already got one ruffled up, and I'm going to put that in the frame right away, because I always like to do some samples to make sure I like how everything coordinates and not. Okay, so this takes 2 rolls, or 1.5 actually rolls of mesh when you cut at 30 inches. You could go down to 24, okay, but this time I really wanted to knock one out of the park with the fluffiness. So it's got curls on each end, which I'll show you how to make momentarily, and I'm going to put them in the frame. When I work on my frame, I get all of my, let me put this back in there. I get all of my ties ready to go so that I'm not stumbling over myself trying to put them in and wishing I had a third hand. Another trick that I have learned along the way with these on this frame, they are put on the frame with little staples to hold them in place, but sometimes they loosen up and you can tighten them with some needle nose. But I have also found that in most cases the tinsel ties are long enough, I'm going to bring this in, that the tinsel ties are long enough that you can take one over the ring above it and bring it back out, and it's still long enough for what you're doing. I find that this helps keep your mesh and your anything that goes in that tie from flopping back and forth. We don't like floppy wreaths. So let me put that back there. Okay. So I'm going to put this one in, and I put it so that that it's in there vertically to the horizontal tinsel ties. I'm saying a lot today. What's up with that? All right, I'm just going to twist it once because I need plenty for putting my ribbon in, my ribbon tails. I'm not putting anything other than that, but if I were to add some, what is it called, tubing, I'd want to make sure I had more room so that I could twist that around it, but we're not doing that on this project. So that's what it looks like, kind of like a bow tie. You could put it in where the curls are down, but we're not doing that with this project. Another easy part to this project is that it has a pattern on it, so it's easy for us to find the center of the mesh for ruffling. But the first thing we're going to do is if you noticed, I laid it down with the curl side up versus like on a pancake wreath. On a pancake wreath, it's curl side down with the mesh with what's called a woodland ruffle, which is what I'm doing today. What this is, it's curl side up because we're going to make little, as Tammy, one of my mentors, says, make some taquitos on the end. So we're going to roll it 5 times. It doesn't have to be 5 times, but it's enough that you're hiding that cut edge on the ends, and that usually results in less fraying. So I know my center is right here because of the stripes. 1, 2, 3, 4. The red stripe in the center. So I know where to clip it to hold it in place. And I'm going to flip it around. Okay. I do that. I had that there as a weight so it wouldn't be rolling towards me when I'm trying to roll the other way and make it more difficult. So 5 times. You can do anywhere, I would say anywhere from 2 to 5. It just depends on how tight you roll the end. So these are called curls, and now I'm going to ruffle it up the center, up that red stripe. So you'll have curls on the ends and ruffles in the center. So you can either put it with the curl side up or turn it around and do it curl side down. Some people do this way. I prefer having it up. And since there's an even number of tinsel ties on this frame, I'm not going to do every single one in a row when I'm adding the mesh to the frame. I'm going to do every other and then come back and do the ones in between. It's just me. Does it make any difference? I don't really think so, but it's just how I do it. I mean, that's what I do with the pancake wreaths, so that's just a habit I have. So that was tight and low. That helps it from flopping. And see how they aren't flopping at all? That's because the rings that are holding the tinsel ties on are nice and tight, and I did that extra little stuff to make sure that it wouldn't do that. Alright, so let's just continue with this. Looks like a paper towel holder almost. It's actually my bow maker. Curl side up. I find holding it towards the outer edge and not in the center when I'm curling this, the sides stay even better. You do what's most comfortable for you. These are the longest pieces of mesh I use too. This gets you maximum fluff. This is not something that you're going to be able to put behind a screen or a storm door, so keep that in mind. It would have to be outside of the screen door, or if you don't have a screen door, you could place it there. Or another great place for it is on your mantle or on the wall if you have an entryway. Any way you look at it, you want to make sure that something like this is protected from the elements as much as possible. It does have plastic in it, even though there's fabric to the mesh. and it'll all dry very easily. But you know, the more you can keep it out of the elements, the longer life you're gonna get out of it. Unless you're me and who wants something new every year. Okay, so let me put that on there. And make sure you have plenty of workspace. I'm working on a table that is 5 foot wide. And this cutting mat, which you need to have for cutting the mesh, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 3 foot. But you need at least 3 foot of space to work because your mesh, in my opinion, is a form of Velcro. That's why if you notice when I'm making my videos, 2, 3, 4, 5, I almost always make sure I have short sleeves on, and I also make sure I'm not wearing anything brand new that I'm worried about getting snagged. If you do wear long sleeves, there's a loose string, I'm just going to pull it off. I was ready to leave anyway. I roll the sleeves up if I have something longer. And keeping your other products as much out of the way as possible will help keep you from having hitchhikers on the bottom of your wreath. If you don't have the room, you don't have the room. I would advise having a little table next to your table or a bench or a chair to lay your supplies on, so that you're not getting things all mangled and damaged. Okay, so this is the last one in the first go round on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I always gotta count, because if I'm talking, I'm gonna forget how many I did. Hazards of middle age, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. Another string on the other edge. Alright, let's ruffle this one. This is absolutely my favorite mesh technique. I was trying to find the words. What were you trying to say? Yeah, mesh technique. Design. Later in the summer, I will make a wreath this size using 21-inch mesh versus this 10-inch mesh. When we first started, or at least when I first started in late 2017, before I became a business, 21-inch was really all there was. So we were so excited when this came out. It's the 10-inch is so much more versatile, I think. But the 21-inch is great for poofs, and you'll learn about that in that video. I'll probably do a summer design when I do that. Go old school, so you can see. It's nice to have a variety of techniques. At least I think so. Ruffle up the center. Now that we're going in with the mesh in between each of the other pieces that I placed in there, when I place it in there, obviously I want it to still be centered. But once I get it settled in place, I want to make sure that everything is even. And I'll show you in just a second what that means. It's stuck on the edge of the table. Let go. Okay. So I want to take the edges of this ruffle and make sure it lines up with the edges of the ruffle next to it. Okay? I just love this color looking in the camera. It's so bright. See it? So now it brings up the fluff a little bit more. Okay. And as you can see, as I'm building this, I'm bringing the tie around in front of me so that I'm not reaching across the table trying to do this, straining my back. Always bring the project towards you when you can. If you stand, it's a little easier to reach over and do it, but I still advise that you bring the portion that you're working on directly in front of you or just to the side. I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or what, but I like to work on it from an angle, either this way or this way. Not sure if it's the left-handed thing, and if you didn't notice that at first, yes, I'm doing this left-handed. Okay, ruffle up the center. I like to do it one-handed. Just is more comfortable for me most of the time. So we'll come over here and line up the edges. Make sure the center is right in the middle of the tinsel ties. I'm only twisting it once again because remember, we need to make sure there's enough room in the tie for the ribbon tails and any other embellishments you might do. And again, I'll remind you, I'm only doing ribbon tails on this one. We're keeping it simple. Keeping it super simple. I do some each season that are just basic ribbon tails, mesh, and a sign. And then I do some where I add florals and greenery. No florals and greenery on this one. Come back here. Always making sure it's curl side up on this particular technique. And it really goes pretty quickly if you get all your materials pre-cut, which is what I did. If you'd like to see how I cut the ends of the ribbon tails, there is a ton of content on this YouTube channel that will show you step by step how to do that. Particularly the videos from the beginning of 2024. They're very detailed. Okay. Making sure everything's lined up. Everything's even. If it's not, loosen up your ties to get them right. So that means we got 2 more on this layer. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell this one or not. We'll see. I just love these colors. Or, you know what? They will definitely be for sale. Worst case scenario, I'll buy the materials and make one for myself after the fact. One never knows, but yeah, I'll make sure that this one's up for sale. This is pretty standard supplies. Though as the season moves along, it's harder and harder to find the seasonal prints and such. Like for the makers, we're pretty much done buying and we're almost done making for the year. We've got to be a step ahead of you guys that are customers. I'll make sure we have the goodies for you. So in July, depending on when you're watching this, in July it'll all be Christmas videos. I do Christmas in July. This is my 2nd year in a row doing a Christmas in July video series. I don't know when you're actually watching this. Hopefully you're watching it in the premiere. If not, let me know that you're watching it on a replay. And I wanted to let you know that the Christmas kit that will be coming out in July will be candy cane themed. And I think that the second one will come out the beginning of November. That will be more of a wreath for the faithful, for example, in the Christian community, a nativity wreath. So stay tuned and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see what is coming up. And you can also follow me on Facebook. Everything that I do is Wreaths by Marguerite. I do all the platforms. I'm on all the platforms except TikTok. But Facebook and YouTube are my primary platforms. Okay, so there's the first layer. Now, a lot of people do it the way I'm going to do it next, and a lot of people do it the other way. The other way is to do the mesh on the top first, and then put the ribbon on the bottom and the top, but I'm going to put my ribbon in now. So I need 3, no, I need 5 of each bundle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 4, 1 more. Okay. So I'm going to do every other just like I did with the mesh. So I have a crease in my ribbon tails so that they're all, so I know where the center is on all 3 of them. And I'm centering them in the middle of the bigger piece. And I'm going to ruffle where I folded it up the middle to the top. And then I'm going to hold it with my index finger and thumbs. And then I'm going to fold it outwards on at least the bottom layer of mesh, this layer. I like to do that V before I put it in because it helps it stay pointed out to the edge of the wreath as much as possible. I'm going to put that one in there. And I'm going to twist this. You can twist it, twist just 3 or 4 times and then leave the rest just sticking up. Or you can cut off the cut off the excess. I think I'm going to cut it because this is tinsel tied. I'm going to turn this nice and try to bring it in nice and close for you. That's about as close as I'm going to be able to get. It actually looks like you've got a little accent on there. Okay, bring it back out. And now I'm going to spread the ribbon out. And when you do that, a lot of times from ruffling, especially if you have a whiter mesh, you're going to get a lot of wrinkles and bubbles. I like to call them bubbles in them. So what you do is you're never going to grab your ribbon at the cut end. That could cause it to fray too, and you don't want to do that. So I just lift the top ones away from the bottom ribbon, and I position the ribbon where I want it. And this is so wide, I'm just going to go basically centered. And then I'm going to take these 2, separate them, and then position them where I want them. So basically that ribbon, that 5-inch ribbon, is going to be the background of these 2. And if you notice, I'm putting my fingers up in it at the base where the twist tie was to make sure all of the little pockets and gathers are popped out. And on the bottom layer, I usually do one side one way, one side the other, meaning this ribbon is up at the top and this is down at the bottom. So the other side is going to have the 1.5 inch up towards the frame. Let me get that one in place. And the blue dots with the red, white stripes down towards the edge. Let me get them in place and I'll hold it up to show you. Okay. This is a thinner glitter ribbon, so it likes to have waves in it, for lack of a better way to put it. Get over here. Thank you. So, see that? Okay. So I'm going to skip the next one, and I'm going to do this bundle, the 2.5 inch. For the rest of the project, I'm going to call these the 2.5 inch bundles, and these are going to be called the 5-inch bundles. Okay. So I'm going to skip one, come over here. A little bit less ruffling because it's only 2.5 inches versus the 5. I'm going to still make that inverted V. I'm going to put it in the frame horizontal, just like I did with the ribbon. I twisted it 3 times and I'm going to cut the excess off. I'm going to leave the tip sticking up just a little bit. Gives it some character and more dimension. And then I'm going to position the ribbon. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lift these 2 up, put the glitter in the center, and then I'm going to flip these 2 off to each side. 1 to each side of that. Getting those little gathers and bubbles out as I go. And you know what? Just to show no one's perfect, if I'm doing every other, I need to be using the 5-inch bundles first. Hello. Hello. I haven't used this width of ribbon on a ribbon tail in a while. I also should tell you that the 5-inch ribbon, I cut the tails a little bit longer meaning the 1.5 inch and the 2.5 inch that are on top, I cut at a 14-inch length, and the 5-inch I cut at a 16-inch length, and it ends up looking exactly the same length once you get it into the frame. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure that the wider ribbon is matched up in length to your other ribbons, okay? So let me do that. These are pretty stiff ribbons, so it's better to lift and separate them one at a time. I was trying to do 2 at a time. Wasn't looking good. So this red one, this glitter on the bottom, basically is where it needs to be. So I'm going to lift these 2 out of the way. I'm going to lift and separate. And then I'm going to bring this over here. This glitter is very wavy. I'm not going to call it wrinkled, it's wavy. And actually the way it's doing that, it looks good. It doesn't look like it's wrinkled. I'm going to skip that one and go here. Open up my bundles. Come on. Having a tough time getting started there. Okay. I think more often than not, I ruffle from the top down. Get that V in there. It really does help it stay pointed out, the bundle stay pointed to the outside of the frame when you do that V before you put it in there. Cut a little of the excess off. You can leave it on totally, it's entirely up to you. You can even just twist it and twist it and twist it and tuck it back in as well. There are so many ways you could do this. This is just one. Lift and separate. That one up there and out of the way. Okay. Position that. I'm running my fingers over it and giving it a little bit of a curl. You could also use a pen or a pencil to do that, and it would look really good. Here's a little wooden dowel. I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to lift, separate, and place them in their home. Get those little out of the way. So what you do is you just take like a dowel, a pen or pencil, and just roll it underneath with your hand on top. And it comes out really pretty that way. We'll definitely do that on the top. Okay, skip one, go to this one. We have 2 more of this 5-inch bundle for this layer. Let's do that. Get that V in there. It's a little harder to keep it in place when it's the 5-inch, but I wanted to do something a little bit different without adding extra elements to this wreath. 3. What I'm doing is I'm only cutting off enough of the twist tie to even them up, because the fact that I wrapped one side around the frame made it look shorter, or it made the usable tinsel tie shorter on one side. So that, once you get everything in there, is one way to even them up. Just cut off the excess. Cut off. And if you have the gumption to do so, I would love to hear where some of you are from, or all of you actually. I am in southwest Nebraska, 59 miles from the Wyoming border, at the very south, 10 minutes north of the Colorado border. So it's like a little over 2 hours to Denver from here. Makes it nice and convenient for travel too, to be centrally located. We do most of our shopping in Cheyenne, Wyoming. that we can't fulfill here in town. I'm just kind of averse anymore to the big cities now that I'm no longer a big city girl. I grew up and spent the first 47 years of my life in California. Do not miss the traffic. But there's a lot of beautiful things to see there and do. I grew up about 45 minutes east of Disneyland. Okay, so that was definitely on the itinerary regularly, and especially when we had company. If we had company from out of town, guess where we went? Disneyland. Glitter is where it needs to be. And I also put the ribbon tails in between. So there's a curl on each end and then the ruffle. I try to place the tails in between the two curls. So it's not pushing anything down that way either. Just think it sits nicely in that space. Okay. Okay, so that is the 5.5-inch ribbon bundles. Now we can do the 2.5-inch ribbon bundles. Let me get everything in. Okay, there we go. So that one's ready to go. So let me put that in there. Also, I'd love to hear what your traditions are for 4th of July. For us, there are certain things we got to eat. We've got to have potato salad. Growing up, it was potato salad and macaroni salad, but we never have the big enough crowd anymore to be able to justify that much. Hot dogs, hamburgers. When we're feeling fancy, we'll throw steaks in there and brats. Just depends on who's coming. Gotta have watermelon and ice cream. Sometimes it's an ice cream cake if I'm feeling adventurous. I've done that a few years. I've even done a flag one. Because I used to be pretty addicted to Pinterest and all the ideas on there. But I've done a good job of staying away from it of late. But yeah, ice cream cake. It's easy, it's fun, it's tasty. And if we have a crowd, I like to have my husband light up the fire pit and we do s'mores in the evening. And of course, now that we're here in Nebraska, we can have all the things as far as fireworks are concerned. So yeah, my husband is a kid. To say we do fireworks is an understatement. And if you do follow me on Facebook, I usually post a video of some of the fireworks we're doing. So I'm looking forward to that. This year it's supposed to be warm. Although we're having a very, very cool June so far this year. But we need the rain. Farmers need the rain. Okay, I did the same thing even though it's the 2.5-inch ribbon. I centered the glittered ribbon in the middle on the back of the 3. And I'm still on these, doing opposite on each side. So on one side the stripe and polka dot are up, and on one side the stripe and the polka dot are down. Okay, this next one, I'm going to ruffle that. Get that in there. I'm twisting these tight and low to make sure that I don't use up all my tinsel tie unless I don't need any more. But the other benefit of that is it keeps things from flopping around in the frame when you make sure that they're tight. The pipe cleaners, not the pipe cleaners, in this case the tinsel ties. These frames that come with them on them permanently, like this one, you can get them with glitter ties, which is what this one was, which I thought was appropriate for Patriotic. Or you can get them with a matte finish, so they're, you know, pretty basic. They're not sparkly. That's the bottom line. They're not sparkly. They also have some out that I've seen recently that are iridescent. I don't know if that's a new thing or not. I just don't pay attention. I stay in my lane. I do what I do. I get what I like. Ribbon, that's a different story. There's always something new I gotta try. Gotta keep things new and updated. Let's get that ruffled. Now these are some pretty thick ribbons. If it looks like I'm struggling when I'm ruffling, I do have to put a little bit more elbow grease into ruffling them and folding them into the V shape. Cut the excess off. See how one piece is little and the other piece is long because of the way I wrapped it around the frame earlier. But it's still plenty of room. Plenty left. There, that one's there. Run my fingers over it, getting the bubbles and the ruffles out. Same thing on the other side, but opposite positions. Really got to separate them one at a time because they're so thick. Nope, that goes up, Marguerite. Pay attention. Does anybody else get to a particular time in the afternoon when suddenly they get the sleepies? I'm definitely feeling that today. Okay. Is this the last one? Yes. And it seems very white. I did the white on the top with the confetti on it so that it would stand out because there's so much red and blue in the entire project. It needed that little bit of pop. This one does not want to ruffle. Okay. Let's get that in there. And by doing it every other like I did with this layer, the second set, meaning the 2.5 inch ribbon bundles sit on top. It gives a real layering effect because they sit on top of the 5 inch bundles on each side. And just, it's that more dimension and texture and yeah, all the things. Okay. Get this one separated. And then when we get to start on the second layer. So this is going, nope, this is going up here. This stays in the center and this goes down. Okay. Let's get this all placed. And there we have the first layer. It's looking good. Okay, so now it's time to pull up the ties from the top layer. So there was 10 on the bottom layer. There are 8 on the top. This one has, this is a standard frame. It has 18 ties total. 10 on the outside and 8 on the inside. They make them, I've noticed, like the craft stores, a lot of them are 16 ties or 17 ties. That's why I made the comment about, where's the other end? Where are you hiding? What did I do? Okay, Marguerite. I think I used one of the ties right here. No, it's just hiding. Get under there. I thought maybe I used one of the wrong tinsel ties. There it is. There it is. Let's go under here. Get where you belong. It's better to do this now than as you're going when you have a ruffle in your hand. Okay. Alright, it's time for these guys. Let me clean this glitter off the table. 4th of July and the Christmas season. Our house is covered in glitter. I try to keep it up, but I have a dog. She likes to come down here. Pretty sure between her and I, we track it through the house pretty nicely. So curl side up, making a curl on the end, like to call them taquitos. I'd roll it 5 times, fairly tight. Basically the diameter of a taquito. Ruffle towards the top, one-handed or two-handed. You heard a beeping in the background, that's my laundry. Alright, let's get this in here. Same thing. Mesh goes in left to right. My hand is a little sore, so I'm going to get my pliers, my needle nose to help me tighten this up. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the bottom layer. I'm going to skip one and go over here. A lot of times I use my phone as a weight, but today I'm using the wire cutters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you get any fray on the end, like this one has a little bit of fray, take care of it at the point you get to it instead of waiting till it's in the wreath. Because you don't want to have to go back and clean it out, except for any maybe last minute things. Okay, there we go, clean that up. Ruffle that up the center. On the next one, I'll show you what to do if you're using a solid colored ribbon mesh that doesn't have a pattern to it. You can either use a ruler to find your center or fold it in half, which is what I do. One less tool you need. You can also use the mat that's on my table. Okay, come on. There we go. Alright. Skipping one and going to the next one. So, I'll lay this. I'm going to lay this on here. But if I didn't have a pattern, I would just simply fold it in half, put my finger at the center, and that would tell me where my center is. And I use the clip to clip that and turn it around so that I can gather towards it. But I don't need to in this case since we've got the 4, 5. We got the pattern in there. That really helps. Having the clip on the end too helps with the mesh to keep it flat on the table. Because as you get further into the roll of your mesh, the tighter the curl is on that, and the more it's going to flip up towards you and roll back up. So putting weight on the end is very helpful with that. That's why I put the pliers on there, wire cutters I mean, and that's why I clip it the way I do. Takes a little of the aggravation out. Not a little. Keeps you from having aggravation while you're assembling your product. Get that in there. If you have a hard time getting your mesh, your twist ties tight enough, try standing up if you're trying it sitting down. Try standing up when you're tightening it. Sometimes I notice that helps me get a tighter twist on it. So that means we go here. And don't worry if you ruffle up the ribbon as you go. At the end, you always want to go back through your project anyway to make sure everything's perfect, because you got to take pictures if you're selling it. So you can, okay, that clip's going to go there. Okay, that's fine. Okay. 2. Thank you for holding my clip. Twist it around, full side up, making our little curls / taquitos at the end. And a reminder, doing that hides the cut edge as much as you can, which helps bring down the amount of fray to a minimum. All mesh frays, it's a fact of life. There's no avoiding it. Some people use a wood burner to cut their mesh. Make sure you're doing that outside if you do it. But what it does is melt it. You can't really do it with this mesh. I mean, you could, but you might start a fire. So I would highly recommend not using a wood burner on a fabric mesh. If you're going to do it, feel free to do so with the all plastic mesh. This is not something you want to do that on. Okay, so now, is that it? Now I got the other 4. So it's time to go back in between those. Oh, I use whatever's around. Did you notice that? That time it was the needle nose. And there are some people that do this whole process on their chest. They roll one side, roll the other, and then squish it. I like a little bit more of a consistent ruffle. I find that I get that doing it this way, using my table. And again, remember, you're wanting to make sure the height on each side, so the section of the mesh on each side is even, so that it evens up with the mesh in the ruffle besides it. Okay. Pop those up there, nice and fluffy. Did I cut any of these off? No, no, I'm not supposed to yet. Marguerite, hello, pay attention. I did say I was a little sleepy today. Where's the end? Where is it? There it is. Okay. Let go, see? It's like Velcro attaching itself. 2, 3, 4, 5. Clip it in the center. Fray is completely normal. It's annoying, but it's completely normal. And I'm not just throwing it on the floor over there. There's a trash can. 2, 3. See, that looks good. Bring it over. Put it in the frame. You know, I noticed when I was doing this top layer, I was twisting it 3 times. I need to not do that. It needs to be once. I need the rest of that pipe to tinsel tie, Marguerite. What the heck? What the heck? That goes down there. Where's the other end? There it is. I haven't done that one yet, or have I? Are these? Nope. There it is. Haha. I'm like, I thought there was one there. It's just hiding. Looking at all this, I'm thinking this sign and this selection of product, except for the 5-inch ribbon, would be great for one of my Patriotic storm door kits for next year. So, we'll see, shall we? 5, ruffle. Make sure that's centered. When adjusting your mesh, make sure you're never pulling it from the outer edge. Pull it a lot closer to where your fingers are holding it so that you don't alter the design in the mesh. Okay, so there's that. There's that edge. Where's the edge here? That's the bottom one. Okay, there it is. There it is. I thought I was losing it. Okay. So there should be, what, 2 left or 1 left? Let me look in the back. Looks like this is the last one. Let's see if this is the last one. Yep, it is. Perfect! Sometimes I cut extra. Oops. Sometimes I have to cut more. So, when you're cutting this, you want to use a cutting mat to cut mesh and a rotary cutter. You'll find this in the fabric area of your craft stores because it's used for cutting fabric for quilting as well. So if you're already a quilter, there is probably no supplies you need to buy to make wreaths. Make a wreath. Because you should have a cutting mat already, the rotary cutter. Alright, last but not least, let's get that in there. And then I'm going to stand up because I think I need to stand up to place the sign. I'm going to go ahead and trying to decide, do I want to put the sign in and then the ribbon, or a ribbon and the sign? Try not to fall on my butt. Let's take a look at it. I think I'm going to put the ribbon in first this time. That's more often than not the opposite of what I do. Alright, so let's get started. Let's do the 5-inch first. Now on, I don't know which 2 yet. 2 of them I don't only want to twist once versus 3 times because I needed them for the top and bottom of that sign. Okay. So this time we're not going to do the inverted V. We want it to flare out for all the world to see. But I'm still ruffling it down the center where I had it folded. There's a crease there to help me find it. Okay, let's do this one. I think I'll use, this to help me some more. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to cut any of these yet until I get to the end of the project because I don't know if which one I'm putting the sign through. On the top layer, I'm still lifting and separating. I'm still having the glittery red one in the center. But on this layer, we're going to go ahead and have them the same on both sides. That in position. Separate these out. Bring this down. This seems so short. Should be way longer than that. Making that a little tighter. Alright. Next. I skipped one, so I'm going to the next. Yeah, I smushed that down a little bit. But at the end, we always fluff everything out. So thick. That in there. Use this. Okay. There's that. I'm pretty sure that the sign will go through be attached where these are put out. I think because these are much shorter twist ties. So I did red in the middle. I'm not grabbing the end. Grabbing it up towards the center. And I'm going to put the white towards the outside and the stripe towards the inside. You could still do the V on this layer actually because it's going to have the sign on top. We'll see how it looks without doing that. Lift, lift, separate, and position. Since I'm putting a sign on the top of the ribbon, I guess I'm not gonna curl them too much. Okay, so we're skipping that one. We're going here. Oh, you know what? Why it was so short on that one? It's because I didn't untwist it. I had put 3 twists in it initially, and I needed to take it back to only 1 twist. I love this mesh. I almost don't want to hide the mesh. It's so pretty. I mean, I suppose if you wanted a super basic wreath, you certainly could do that. Maybe just have the mesh, the sign, and a bow below the sign. That would work, right? If you decide to make a wreath based on this project, I would highly recommend, if it's your first wreath, don't use the 5-inch ribbon. It might be a little bit discouraging. And if you do, make sure it's thinner, because at least with the thinner 5-inch, it looks more like ruffles in it than it looks like wrinkles. I don't know how else to explain that. It looks good on it, where wrinkles generally are not looking good. Not a good look. And always be cautious with this glitter ribbon that has a really... fell on my face. Okay. Oh, what was I saying? Make sure if you're using glitter ribbon that has this metallic edge to it, not to pull on the edges, because sometimes they separate. The better quality ribbon does not do that. Some of it's just a folded over and bonded, fused I should say, edge. I did that one, so it's this one. Oh, that's too many. Oop. I mean, you could open it all the way up. Some people do that. The ties. Okay. So, I'll lift these out of the way. I actually like that little, they're like waves in the ribbon. You want it to lay flat a little bit, because the sign's going to do that anyway. Alright, so now I'm going to go back and do the 2.5-inch bundles, and then we can put our sign on, and we'll be done with assembly. I'm going to put a little V in that and see if how that works compared to the other. That one was twisted too many times. Okay. Get in there. I need the helper hands. I may even, I think I'm going to do something maybe, we'll see. Thinking out loud, thinking out loud. So this time, the 2.5-inch glitter is going to be in the center, but this time, the confetti is going to be, or then the 1.5-inch ribbon is going to be up at the top. Okay, bring this down here. This is a little bit thicker and chunkier glitter ribbon too. But it's a little easier to work with than that 5-inch because it's so wide. Yeah, that one is way too small, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess off. That one will definitely not be an attachment point. Alright, next. Ruffle. I'll go ahead and put that V in there. Center, lift and separate and place, lift and separate and place. Get all those little bubbles out. Alright, other side, center, separate, place. A lot of this right here will be hidden. This in the center will pretty much all be hidden because of the sign. There you are, hiding down there. Two left. So thick. It's a thick ribbon. This is to help pull it out more. There we go. Lay it down flat. Separate and place. So that way every other one has the white ribbon towards the center and every other one has it towards the outside. And more ways to give it character, dimension. Such stiff ribbon. Okay, love it though. I love the thick ribbon, especially when I'm cutting it. For those that are also wreath makers, there's something about cutting ribbon. Just something about it. Okay, the last one. Just a little tip. It's harder to put the ties through that sign when you have the frame that has the matte ties versus the tinsel ties. The tinsel, like this one, goes through those a lot easier with a lot less of a struggle. Well, I think I'm going to put the top right there of the sign right here because this one has the most tie available. Get that in there. Curl in there. Take out the bubbles. And I'm just going to point out once again, if you notice, I'm turning the wreath towards me rather than reaching across to work on it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. Let me get this price tag off. Should have done that before. Fortunately, this kind of sign, the tags come off easily and completely. If you have a little bit of a nail, fingernail. Okay, so I've decided to put my top up here. So I'm going to take the longer side of the tinsel tie. And I'm feeding it through the sign, finding the short side. Come up, come up. It's sticking to the ribbon. What the heck? Let go. Thank you. And I'm going to bring this down into the frame a little bit, enough so that I can get that side of the tinsel tie on it. Let's see, I'm going to cut the excess off. I'm going to leave enough so that I can tuck it under the ribbon tails. I'll fix that in a minute. Now I'm going to, well, that one's, get out of there. This is supposed to sit in between. This is going to get smushed down a little bit. Let me go to the other side. I'll make sure the ribbons are all out from under the sign. The mesh is underneath. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it is even. I just have to adjust everything when I get this in finally. Bring that up. I need my helper. Oh, get a grip on that. There we go. I'm wrinkling the ribbons. I'm going to cut off some of the excess and tuck the rest under the ribbon tails. I'm going to stand up best. Okay. I'm going to ignore these two first. I'm going to go around and cut the excess off of these others. Nice and neat and positioned. That one looks good. Just push that down. Come back to that one afterwards. Cut the excess off here. Over a little bit, or did I pull it wrong? So these two are even. These should be underneath. I can fuss with the ribbon all day. Alright, let me see where we are here. I made sure that this is on top a little bit more of the sign. Under all three. Top. Roll that up. You could have used just 2 ribbons, but the red glitter almost acts like basically the background, I guess. It just frames it all. Look at the outside edge real quick. And I think that's it. Let me get the tools away and I'll give you a picture. Try to clean as I go. Not always successful. Alright. Oh, there's one I need to cut still. Come back. Missed one. There it is. Alright, I think that takes care of everything. Alright. So there it is. Oh, I love that. Well, there you go. Now you see how easy it really is to do a project like this. Just a little time and patience. And with that thicker ribbon, that definitely gave me a workout on my arms for sure, and my hands. But it's simple. It's just some basic supplies, and it looks nice and neat on the back as well because everything matches in color. So that looks good as well, so that if it goes on a door with a glass insert, you're not going to see all the mechanics and them look like yuck. I don't know how else to put it. So I just want to thank you again for spending some time with me today while I create this project. It'll be available in my shop, my Etsy shop. I'm on Etsy, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. I just don't do TikTok, so my name everywhere you can find me is Wreaths by Marguerite. You can subscribe to this channel for free, and you'll be notified of any more further tutorials that I do. I do put out a new video each Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so that's when you can see it when it first premieres. Got a lot of content, a lot of ideas for you, and in the description I will give you a link to where this wreath can be purchased in the Etsy shop. Any questions or concerns, I'd love to hear from you. I love the interaction. I love to help those that are still learning as well, and if you have any questions about an order, let me know there as well. Okay, well, thanks again. I know you have all sorts of things you could be doing with your time instead of spending it with me, but the fact that you do means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. So everybody have a great rest of your day, and hopefully you have a great 4th of July. I know I'm looking forward to it, even though it's going to be warm. So thanks again, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.